Think back as far as you can. A birthday party, a scraped knee, the first day of school. Now try to go further back. Try to remember being 2. Try to remember being 1. You can't. Not really. And the strange part is, you were there. Your brain was working. Your eyes were open. So where did those years go? Scientists call this infantile amnesia, and it happens to every single person who has ever lived. Not because your brain was broken back then, because it was busy doing something else entirely, something far stranger than simply forgetting. Here is the reframe. You did not lose your earliest memories the way you lose your car keys. Your brain as a baby was not yet built to keep them. To understand why, you have to understand what a memory actually is. A memory is not a photograph sitting in a drawer somewhere in your skull. It is a pattern of connections between neurons stitched together by a part of your brain called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is like a librarian. It takes the raw experience of your day and files it into long-term storage, tagging it with a time, a place, a feeling, so you can pull it back out later. In a newborn, that librarian has not finished setting up the library. Researcher Patrick Bauer, who has spent decades studying memory development in young children, found that the hippocampus continues forming new neurons and new connections well into early childhood. The shelves are still being built. The filing system has not been installed yet. So even though a baby is absolutely absorbing the world, forming attachments, learning language, recognizing faces, very little of that experience gets filed away as a retrievable, dateable memory. This is the counterintuitive twist. The forgetting is not a flaw. It might actually be the price of growth. Neuroscientist Paul Frankland, in research published with his team at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, proposed something remarkable. He found that one of the very things that makes a young brain so good at learning, the explosive production of new neurons in the hippocampus, may be the same process that wipes out old memories to make room. In mice, boosting neuron growth in infancy made old memories harder to retrieve. Slowing that growth helped early memories stick around longer. Your brain, in other words, may have been trading memory storage for memory capacity. It was optimizing for learning 1,000 new things a day, not for remembering any one of them forever. Think about what an infant actually has to learn. How to focus its eyes, how to control its hands, the sounds that make up language, pulled out of a constant blur of noise. The difference between a stranger's face and a parent's face. That is an enormous amount of new wiring, all at once. A brain under that kind of construction simply could not also be running a perfect, permanent diary of every passing moment. Something had to give. The diary lost. There is a deeper layer here too. Psychologist Peterson, who has tracked children's memories over many years, found that the earliest memories people do manage to keep are not random. They tend to be emotionally charged, attached to a strong feeling of fear, joy, or surprise. This matches something researchers see across the animal kingdom. Memory is not built to record everything. It is built to record what mattered for survival. A toddler does not need to remember every Tuesday. A toddler needs to remember which face means safety and which sound means danger. So your earliest years were not lost. They were converted. The names, the faces, the language, the trust or distrust you learned to place in the people around you, all of that got folded into the architecture of your brain itself rather than stored as a memory you could narrate. You cannot recall the moment you learned to trust your mother's voice. But that learning is still in you, shaping how you react to voices today. It just does not come with a timestamp attached. Here is the modern mirror. You still do this, just in a smaller way, every single day. Think about a week where everything was new. A new job, a new city, a new relationship. Time felt slower, days blurred. You may struggle now to remember the exact order events happened in that period, even though you remember the feelings vividly. Your adult hippocampus was doing a faint echo of what your infant brain did constantly, prioritizing rapid learning over precise record keeping. This is also why memory researchers urge caution around very early memories that adults sometimes claim to have, of being 1 or 2 years old. Elizabeth Loftus, who has spent her career studying how memory can be reconstructed and distorted, has shown how easily the brain fills in gaps with stories borrowed from photographs, family retellings, or imagination, and presents them back to you as if they were lived experience. The brain is not a faithful archivist. It is a storyteller, and sometimes it tells you a story about your own first years that feels true but was never actually recorded. So when you reach back for that first memory and find nothing but a haze before a certain age, that haze is not evidence that nothing happened. It is evidence that something enormous happened. Your brain was under construction, prioritizing the scaffolding over the photographs, building the version of you that could eventually stand still long enough to remember anything at all. You could not remember being a baby because, in a sense, you were not finished becoming the kind of mind that remembers. The forgetting was not a failure of your first years. It was the engine that made every year after them possible.